Hello, my friends. Operator Starsky here. It's so cool to see you guys. It's been a while, and I have to whisper because I'm staying in a very interesting place. It's actually it's a girl's dorm. That's why I have to whisper. Uh, I wish it was a joke though, guys. Today we will talk a bit about the situation global, not the situation in Ukraine, but the global situation. And I decided that this stream, I should make it like TEDx, so you could just share it to your friends and tell them to see some interesting shit like they usually do on a YouTube. All right, we have the whole world as always watching this stream. Also, we have Janine. No, Steve, it's not a sex tunnel. Janine will be moderating our today's stream. Thank you so much. Very, very nice to see you, and very cool to know that you're fine. All right. The other day, I woke up and I realized that like something is wrong. Like all the fairy tales that I've been told in my childhood, they sucked. They like all those stories that were told to us, and we grew up listening to those stories, forming like some characters, some protagonists that we would later copy in our lives, right? Like they were wrong, actually. For example, in Ukraine, we had this story about Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga is basically this old witch who lives in the forest, in the swamps, like in this house that stands on the chicken legs. Can you imagine that? And she ate kids. Like literally, she would attract kids with like some sweet buns, some candies, whatever, and then she would just throw them into a stove, and where they would burn and die, and then she would eat them. And I was growing up thinking like, oh my god, like you should avoid talking to strangers, because that's the idea. You should avoid talking to strangers when you're a little kid, because who knows whom you may encounter. Maybe like squad reader, right? Which is bad. And I cannot hear my voice. Oh yeah, I can hear my voice. That's the idea. You should not talk to like people you don't know, because who knows what kind of person he or she is. And apparently, just Nila, even in Germany, I grew up with Baba Yaga. I didn't know if she was popular in Germany as well. But I grew up, and apparently Baba Yaga was just misunderstood, and people start justifying Baba Yaga and shit like that. And at some point, here we have also Miroslav Burtovi in the chat. Nice to see you, bro. And at some point, all this transformed into the situation that we have now. The situation when those guys, those individuals, are actually good guys. I swear, the other day, I probably told you about it. The other day I was surfing different forums, and there were several Americans talking about China and Russia and North Korea, and they were like, who would have known in 21st century that North Korea, China, Iran, Russia are actually the good guys? I had such a powerful facepalm, so I almost broke my nose. And I'm like, how the hell did we, what did we do wrong, guys? Like, what's wrong with the society today? What happens? And I talked to Max. I talked to different guys. Max is his nickname is Tarantino, not because he's Max Taran, but also because he's into movies. He likes all kinds of movies, classics, modern movies. We talk a lot with Max about movies because I don't really have much time to watch them. And Max tells me everything I should know about movies. And he told me interesting thing. Basically, this guy is and will be more popular than this guy. And I thought, holy shit, that, like, yeah, this is how it works. The reason why this guy is popular is because evil always attracts people. Basically, we're born evil. If you see kids playing on the playground and you see them, like, just punching each other, grabbing toys and shit, you realize that in order to grow up like being proper people, we have to learn how to do it. We have to train ourselves. We have to put effort into becoming better people. And this is how we have what we have today, the legislation, charity, like whatever. But the main thing is that we are born evil, and this stuff attracts us. And for example, tell me how many times in the past year, for example, did you see the interview of this gentleman? Not sure if everybody knows who he is, but this is Dalai Lama from Tibet, and he knows shit, guys. He talks some really nice shit. But how many of you watched his interviews like in the past 3 months, for example? Me neither, like zero. Like, I don't remember if I even watched him in this millennia, but he says proper things. And by the way, Tibet is occupied by China for a lot of time. You should also remember about it. Christian talks about sharks. He talks about the influence of our industry of fishing. He explains things about those beautiful creatures of the sea. How many of you did watch his video like in the past months or two? And if you didn't subscribe to his channel, it's Shark Bites. It's it's Shark Bites. It's completely worth watching. He's a marine biologist, and he's a really nice guy, and he's awesome. And sharks are kittens, as you know. But of course, people would rather watch interview of, for example, this guy, Charles Manson, who killed 7 people, murdered 7 people, and killed Sharon Tate, pregnant, and people, like, they have fan clubs of Charles Manson. There's a fan, I read about her, there's a fan who wanted to have kid from him and stuff like that. Like, why? That's the thing. We know about Hannibal Lecter, right? This dude is perfect, okay, because Sir Anthony Hopkins is absolutely amazing actor and things like that, and like we love Hannibal Lecter because of this incredible charisma that Anthony Hopkins has, right? I admit it, but at the same time, Hannibal Lecter is a bloody murderer and maniac who ate people. And this is why people like to see that. They like to see interviews with maniacs. Am I right? And that's another reason why, for example, this interview became so popular, because nobody cares about Dalai Lama. They want to see a maniac. They want to see this evil mastermind who, in reality, because his interview failed so miserably, and people realize that in real life, this dude is nothing like an evil mastermind. He's just a sick old man who needs to go to prison. That's why more people watched this one than this one. Like, okay, I agree. Pats, they also have like this special corner in our heart because they're not evil. They're not born evil. And by the way, the U Hearts is a foundation that supports animals in Ukraine. Please find them on YouTube. They have their channel. And also, please subscribe. They only have like 100 subscribers, something like that. And they deserve to have more. Of course, I'm not. Of course, I'm not stating that the hybrid warfare brought to this. That what we have today, like heroic canonization, glorification of villains, is a result of hybrid warfare, but it benefits them big time. Why? Because this is something that you all have, people on the West. And it's a desire to understand other people, understand and justify them. Why a lot of people justify Joker? They justify Joker because if you saw this movie, you know the plot, and you know that the society that shunned Joker became a reason for him to go violent, to become a criminal, and things like that. Anthony Hopkins played Hitler in a very good film a few years ago. Andrea, and I will check it out. Thank you so much. So it's the society, and people generally hate society. Yeah, society sucks. Society is full of people who don't understand you. Society is full of people who want to trick you, cunning people, people who want to steal your money, steal your spot at the parking lot, cut you in the queue somewhere, and things like that. Like absolutely stupid, arrogant society of people, right? That we all hate, that we're sick of. And it's a normal thing. Again, this is why the movie makers, this is why the producers understand the demand for such movies. A hero who was not understood, right? Who fights against this society and punishes it as much as possible and whatever. I shit you not, Russians still have those beautiful fairy tales, right? About good characters, protagonists, heroes who fight evil, who fight three-headed dragons, Zmei Gorыныch and shit like that, who fight Baba Yaga and trick her and put her into stove. Because they understand your mentality. And because of that, they push their hybrid warfare into brainwashing people on the West, into making them believe that those guys are actually good guys. Yes, they're villains. Yes, they did a lot of shit, but look at the West. West is much worse. West is much worse. The propaganda, all those lying politicians, corruption, not like in, I don't know, like in North Korea, right? What kind of corruption we're talking about? People don't have money at all. They're paid with food. Uh, for example, the other day I stumbled upon this commentary made 4 years ago, actually before the Russian invasion started. And it's a commentary made by Alexander whatever, Russian user from St. Petersburg, Russia. Basically, in 4 years ago, it was 2020 or 2019, whatever. Back then, he already lived in a country that was in the state of hybrid war with Ukraine, and he was a citizen of this country. And he says, like, why does it seem like Russia and China always side with the bad guys? And he says, I think it happens because bad guys labeling is made by USA and allies. So from the standpoint of bad guy, you don't really understand why people think you are a bad guy, right? It's such a narcissistic approach that it's really hard to understand if you're not, if you are a narcissist, right? You don't really understand why people hate you for that. But it's amazing. He says, in Saudi Arabia, good guys or bad guys, they're fundamentalists. They killed journalists in Turkey recently. They oppress minorities and yada yada, but they are not bad because they're attached to USA politics. Bashar Assad, he's not fundamentalist, he fought ISIS, but he's definitely bad guy because he's attached to Russia, Iran politics. Well, of course, it doesn't matter that more than 100 of countries of the world condemned Bashar Assad for killing his people with chemical weapons, like in Ghouta, for example, right? It happened. Like, for real, there are evidence, there's videos. But at the same time, because Alexander is Russian, who lives in this Russian society with this ideology of Ruski Mir, Russian supremacy, and shit like that, he doesn't really understand why people that are considered terrorists are bad people. I mean, they are like us. Why are they considered bad? And that's the thing. Russians understand your mentality big time. That's why, for example, we have this amazing piece of art, Driven to Kill by Steven Seagal, who plays a Russian mafioso. Like, it's a shitty movie where he swears a lot, suka, blядь, every like 5 minutes. You know what I'm talking about. But this is exactly why we have things like that. And recently, if you watched my yesterday's update, recently the Wagnerites came to a school in Buryatia and had this patriotic lesson. Patriotic lesson is basically where they explain how they fought in Ukraine, the country they invaded, how they killed people, and this makes those little Russian kids proud. And they also made this photo with the Wagnerite flag that says, nothing personal, we were paid. So that's like the level of mentality, right? That's basically the process of raising mercenaries in Russia. Nothing personal, we were paid, it's so cool, haha, you know. Russian people understand why you people on the West like to justify murderers and criminals and war criminals, of course, and people like Ruslan, played by Steven Seagal in this movie. And this helps them fight against you. Why? Because Russians are using democracy in your countries in order to destroy democracy in your countries. Russians themselves, they don't care about it. They don't care about democracy. They live well in this environment where they don't have it. They don't even know how it looks like and why people have it in general. They just go every several years, just vote for Putin as they were told, and everything works, right? Because if you don't vote for him, you will have problems. But they use this culture of glorifying villains to train people who would later grow up, basically, training people into believing this, who will later grow up and say, oh my God, my motherland, my motherland, the US, it sucks. It does despicable shit. This society is crazy. Let me change Steven Seagal for something, but I cannot stand that guy. My society sucks. What we do is wrong. China are like great people. Iran, those students on the streets, of course, they were brought there by my evil country. I have to change. And basically, there are two kinds of people who, okay, now we're talking about Ukraine and other villains. There are two kinds of people who support the totalitarian regimes, support the terrorism and things like that. First is completely brainwashed people who say Europe sucks, democracy sucks, what we do is wrong, and the totalitarian regime, like wherever in China or in Russia, is much better. Why it's better? It's because the idea of being totalitarian gives this person, let's say, a magic pill to have what they don't have and will never have. Like, oh my God, I don't have a photo of Scott Ritter to illustrate my next thought, but you understand. To have what they will never have. Putin can kiss little boys' bellies and nobody says anything to him because it's, and you can oppress people who have different thoughts and yada yada. This gives them something that they cannot have in a democratic society. And of course, they're completely brainwashed. Then there's another bunch of people who are majority of those guys, thank God, and unlike the previous ones, they are not direct traitors of their countries, like potential traitors of their countries, because they are harder to recruit, by totalitarian regimes. Those are the guys who say, like, exactly what Tucker Carlson says. He says, I'm not rooting for Russia, I'm rooting for America. And this is what they do. Basically, they go, I'm not rooting for Russia that murders Ukrainians. I'm rooting for my country, for Germany, for France, for the UK. I'm rooting for my country, for Poland, because if we keep supporting Ukraine, we make our countries weaker and things like that. And the question here is, how exactly your country benefits from letting Russia win this war? How exactly will your country benefit from making Russia stronger? And if you are delusional enough to think that Russia will become your partner and friend after almost 2 years of destroying Ukrainian country, Ukrainian identity, stealing Ukrainian kids, bringing them to the Russian territory, already raising them as Russian supremacists, as ethnic Russian people. Then if you think that you can become friends with them, I'm really, really sorry, you need medication. Putin spent several months, not only Putin, but also Lavrov and Peskov and other speakers, rupers of the Russian propaganda, they spent months convincing the Western society that the terrorist federation was not gonna invade Ukraine. Stop this hysteria. Stop this hysteria. You look very funny. You look crazy. Nobody attacks nobody. And then February 24th. Yeah. So the point is, one of the things that propaganda does, the hybrid warfare, is raising people who distrust. Of course, you should not like blindly follow your government. You should criticize it, but the hybrid warfare raises people who distrust the idea of democracy in their countries. Mostly, of course, those people are young people who grew up in such an environment that they perceive as given, right? Because currently, when you walk out and see your streets, that everything is so familiar and so boring outside. You go to some freaking Khabarovsk or Omsk, guys, there's no street to see, right? There's no asphalt on the street because this is the way their government works. They don't want people to have streets. But you believe that, no, totalitarian regime is something cooler. The idea is not only it grows the hybrid warfare, not only it grows people that distrust the idea of democracy in their countries, but they're also taught this cynicism, right? They grow as absolutely cynical people. And being cynical is not really cool, guys. Yeah, of course, like it's funny, and if you saw Dr. House and things like that, yeah, like I agree. But being cynical means losing your faith in humanity completely. And if you lost your faith in humanity, it's the worst thing that can happen to you guys. Because the best things that we do in our lives, they don't bring us anything else but joy from doing good things to other people. The emotions. That's the only thing that 100% brings you the ultimate joy from helping others. Again, because we have to train, we have to learn how to become good people from the beginning. And if you lost that, if you became a completely cynical person, is the worst thing that can happen to you. Trust me. Of course, it can be cured. However, people that were brainwashed by the Russian propaganda cannot really hope to find this cure. What about some of the different forms of communism? A question from Paul Koval. Different forms of communism. Well, basically, when we talk about communism, when we start talking about communism, we end talking about gulags and millions of killed people. So I don't think that different kinds of communism can be like better or worse. They're all the same type of shit. So the main the main idea of today's video was to rant a lot about the current situation, like trying to justify the maniacs and villains is actually it's a natural thing for you, for us as Westerners, but at the same time the purpose of this is to understand what went wrong and make sure that it doesn't happen again, right? On the TV, I'm talking about the silver screen. Some people, though, perceive it as a roadmap, right? As an instruction, as a handbook. That is the reason why, again, this guy is much more popular than this guy. According to the Hollywood fashion, like he's not popular anymore, and smoking is bad, by the way. With that, I would really, really like to hear your thoughts on what should our next steps be, like globally. Why the society that glorifies villains, why it is so much connected to let me rephrase this. What's the connection between glorifying villains on the screen and in the real life, and how we can save the world as we know it, the peaceful streets or peaceful cities. How can we preserve them? How can we make sure that we wake up tomorrow and our kids go to school, they don't have to give like Nazi salutes or wear, like those labels with Z swastikas or shit like that, and be just normal, friendly people. This is something very, very important. I see evil within as an ancient reptilian brain. It's the base desires taking hold of your decision making. Toggle walk. Yeah, I agree on that. Reptilian brain. I agree. I don't think that we still have reptilian brain, but at least some part of it. No, actually we do. Because, for example, you know about hiccups. When you have hiccups, actually it's like an ancient reflex that dates back to the times when we were like sea creatures. You can Google it. We don't need it anymore, but we still have it from those times, from a million years ago. Tucker Carlson actually said he was rooting for Russia to win. Yeah, he did. In the end of this video, he also said, again, which says a lot about Tucker Carlson as a journalist, right? He said, well, I said that I was rooting for Russia. Of course, I was joking. It was only a joke. I have several hundred million people around the world watching me right now. And of course, I can joke from time to time. I can say that, whatever I said was come on, like, it wasn't serious. And of course, I'm only rooting for America. And that's what he said, basically, after that phrase. You should compare Joker with Batman and good guy from Die Hard versus bad guy. Yeah, I agree. But the main idea, when we're talking about like movies or cartoons, there are like protagonists, the main characters, right? And it's a movie about the main character, the dude who plays the main role. And of course, it depends whether the main character is like the good guy or the bad guy. Murray, hi from New Zealand Oblast. Sorry I'm late. Don't be sorry, my friend. Revan and Morningstar, two world's biggest murderers, were communists. They killed more people than Hitler. I absolutely agree on that. Which doesn't mean that Hitler is a good guy, but we know that Putin copy-pastes everything he did. Literally everything. Because probably he ran out of ideas. But because he copy-pastes everything Hitler did, we know how to fight him, right? Is orc infection curable? It is, but the problem is this infection was implanted into people for decades, if not centuries, and it will take approximately the same amount of time to cure it. That's why it's so hard. When you're raised in a family that was also raised surrounded by this idea of Russian supremacy, Ukraine, Uzbeki, Buryati, those are like Untermenschen, right? And we're Ruski. Yeah, you will have problems getting rid of this shit. There's a lot of very, very nice folks among the Russian oppositionists, right, who speak really nice, interesting things, Max Katz and people like him, but they still have this. They still have this feeling of absolute supremacy. They know better. They always know better how to do shit. When they had protests in Russia recently, we were like, guys, the only protest in the post-Soviet space that literally resulted into protesters winning was in Ukraine 2013-2014, the Revolution of Dignity. And you can use our experience. You can see whatever went good, whatever went bad during the Revolution of Dignity, and you can use our experience to get rid of Putler, right? And Max Katz said, no, we should not listen to the Ukrainian experience because this is not our way. That's why they are where they are. And Max Katz is hiding outside Russia somewhere. And because I'm here as well, probably it will be a good opportunity to meet the bastard. Anyways, so let's check out some of your questions, guys. I mean, yeah, we decided to stream about something more global today because I'm working and operating in Europe right now. It's really unusual not to hear Shaheeds flying. I still pee myself when I hear like airplanes flying, but I'm getting used to this. Romania too, 30 years ago, killed Ceausescu. Yeah, it was a good decision, and probably like not the most humane one, but it worked well. And since that time, I think Romanian people don't regret it at all, right? All right. Napalm, getting rid of the infection. Oh, guys. Infection propaganda 100 years of Soviets. Not only Soviets, because propaganda was also used by Tsar. Not only propaganda, we're talking about the hybrid warfare itself. They did a lot of shit, for example, regarding the Ukrainian culture. We had Ukrainian books. They would eliminate those books. They would ban Ukrainian language officially. They would make sure that Ukrainians don't pray in Ukrainian language in church, but instead they pray in Russian language. there were more than 100 documented cases of the Russian hybrid repressions against the Ukrainian language and Ukrainian culture back in the Tsar's time, Tsarship, Tsardom. So this shit dates back centuries. Just Nila Starsky, are you okay? You look exhausted. I'm not exhausted. It's just I have to whisper. You know. Um, Jack Ray, thank you so much for gifting membership. Thank you big time. Barfly Chef, you need more Mexican food in your life. 100%. I still gotta find some good Mexican food here in the area. So far, I found Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese, and local food as well, of course. And it was good. The portions are crazy. The prices in Ukraine are smaller, but the portions are also smaller. I have to admit that. Okay. The Ukrainian cotton cutie needs to do a lot more traveling around Russia. Definitely. It definitely does. Blame Edward Bernays, the father of advertising, for a lot. Oh my god, I lost it. Wait. Where did you run? Ah. I lost the commentary. Come on. Anyways, I'm so sorry. I'm not good with this. Many of us Americans had parents, grandparents, or great grandparents who fought against the fascists in World War II. Both mine did. If we have to take up that mantle, then it must be done. Andrew, we all had such parents and grandparents and grandparents. The problem is, to Russians, you are fascists, and I'm not bullshitting. According to the Russian propaganda, they consider NATO and countries of NATO, right? They consider them fascist and Nazi. And I shit you not, I had a stream the other day, like in 2022. I will find it. I will put the link in the description, where they talk about. It's a Nazi club. You gotta check some of my videos. It's a Nazi club. They talk about. They rant about not being able to finish Nazism together with Hitler. They had to go further and kill everybody, British, French, like everybody. And unfortunately, they didn't do that. But our glorious grandsons of our glorious grandparents will finish it. And you don't hear much of that because those messages are not aimed at your audience. They're aimed at the internal audience that grows in this environment of Russian supremacy. But your audience, the external audience, receives different messages, right? Don't trust your government. Don't trust your society. You deserve a better life. Stop helping others and finally think about yourselves. That kind of messages. That is something that's aimed at your ears and eyes. 15,000 mercenaries from Nepal fighting in Ukraine. Yeah, again, it was a crazy news as of yesterday and the day before yesterday, because again, there's this myth that Russians love very much. They say, look at Ukraine. Ukraine is so poor and ridiculous that Their president had to run around different countries begging for weapons and supplies, but Russia itself is able to destroy anybody. Unfortunately, it stumbled upon Avdiivka like in 2014 and still stuck there. And also they don't mention about the ballistic missiles and thousands of drones from Iran and millions of shells from North Korea. No. Why don't they recognize NATO as defense against them? They recognize themselves as defending against NATO because, according to Russia, again, NATO is not a defense bloc. It's an attacking force that expands. It just grows. The evil America says, make Finland a NATO member, and they go like, yes sir, and they just do their magic, and Finland becomes NATO, and this is how they grow. And again, one thing that nobody asks Russians is why in decades NATO countries didn't grow any territory, no territory was annexed, while in Russia places like South Ossetia, Abkhazia, places like Donbass, places like Crimea were turned into a freaking pit hole and annexed, like officially annexed. Nobody talks about that. Patrick says, now I understand Putin is a reptile, but I still don't understand why he has the brains of an insect. Yeah, well, he's a cunning... Okay, let's not underestimate him because he's a cunning KGBist, okay, KGB spy. He is not a... he's not an opinion maker. He is a decision maker, but he's not an opinion maker. He has some skills in rhetorics. At the same time, he's not as good as professional propagandists like Kiselov, and other individuals. My God, Margarita Simonyan, Skabeva, Lavrov, Peskov. Those know their job. They know their shit. Putin cannot talk, and especially now with the age, he deteriorates. His brain deteriorates apparently, and he cannot think as clearly as previously, right? Which is, comparing to Biden, like there's a huge difference between them. Again, unfortunately, Biden is not getting younger with the age, but even at this age, in terms of rhetorics, Biden is just far, far near the finish line. What I was talking about? Oh my God, I'm also deteriorating, guys. Yeah, so the Putin is not opinion maker. He is not really good at speaking, especially now. He talks like those cliches and stereotypes and Dugin's ideology and Prilepin's claims and shit like that. It's just like a handbook of a Russian propagandist that he learned, and he speaks those, not facts, but theses. People like Peskov, Lavrov, they do this professionally. They know how to convince people. They know how to bullshit properly. They know how to brainwash. And this is something that makes them so dangerous. During that failed cringy interview with Tucker Carlson, Putin could do much more things that could just, increase the danger, the destructive effect of this interview. He could do so much, and Russians know how to do it. So you would see, like, this old funny guy who would joke, and he would joke about like corruption, of course, like. Did you notice that you had a very nice road when you were coming to Kremlin? Yes, well, it's because the chief of the Russian roads didn't buy Porsche 911 yet. You know, and they would laugh, and everybody would be like, oh my god, what a funny and crazy guy that dictator is. Oh my god, he's so cool. Again, we remember about this one, right? There's a lot of interesting, cool, and funny interviews made by this horrible person. And he could talk much more about the invasion. Again, yes, of course, they evaded questions regarding strikes on civilian objects, regarding kidnapping Ukrainian kids. They evaded the fact that chief of the biggest country in the world is received an arrest warrant, has an issued arrest warrant from the freaking International Crime Court that tried Milosevic, Karadzic, and other war criminals. That could be a great question, and Putin could address this question. He could answer it in a clever way. I know that they know how to answer such questions. No, they didn't touch it. Why? Because, and it's actually a good indication. It means that those things should not be discussed, right? They should not be discussed. Things like arrest warrant, things like kidnapping Ukrainian children, things like Russian atrocities, they don't discuss them on purpose because they don't want to attract attention to those topics. And you should remember that. Same thing was with their the two main messages from Putler to the world. And those messages were: stop supplying Ukraine with weapons, stop supporting Ukraine, and force Ukraine to negotiate. Why did he talk about this? Because he wanted to attract attention to those topics. He wanted to retranslate whatever he feels, whatever makes him feel worried inside, right? And there are two things that make Putin worried. First thing is, if Ukraine keeps being supported by the world, Russia will lose. Russia has a budget that is comparable with the state of Texas, and it's the biggest territory in the world, and is 40 times more poor than the Ukrainian allies. I'm talking about the European countries, I'm talking about the USA combined. Russia is 40 times more poor than those countries. So sooner or later, if Ukraine is being supported by the world, Russia will collapse. Their industry will collapse. Their military complex will collapse. People will do all kinds of crazy shit to remove Putler. He's afraid of that, and it will happen. This is his main concern. That's why he talks about it. Also, he talks about the negotiations for a very very simple reason, because he doesn't know how to end the war. He started the war thinking that Ukraine falls in like 2 weeks. Never happened. He expected that the West will not react. Never happened, right? And currently they're like crawling for almost 2 years. They're crawling uh, around Avdiivka, they're crawling around Zaporizhia and Dnipro Oblast. They had to relieve huge territories from their presence, talking about like Kyiv Oblast, Chernihiv Oblast, Sumy, Poltava, Kharkiv Oblast, Kherson, and after withdrawing from those huge, enormous territories, they managed to capture several towns, like Bakhmut, 7 kilometers across. Putin doesn't know how to end this war. And he needs this war to look beneficial for Russians. He needs to look as a winner, not for himself, but not even for like international society, but for his internal audience. Because one way or another, if it comes to removing Putin, it won't be American commandos landing on top of Kremlin. It will be like angry Russian men, angry and hungry Russian men that will go to Kremlin with those sawn-off shotguns and just kill him. He wants to end this war as a victor, and in order to do that, he needs to convince not Ukraine. He needs to convince the West to talk with Ukraine and force Ukraine to negotiate with Putin. Ukraine gave a clear answer to this. We will negotiate as soon as Russian troops leave our territory. Like as easy as that. And after that, we are ready to negotiate. We will love to negotiate every single day about Russian reparations to Ukraine, about returning Ukrainian prisoners, about returning Ukrainian children that were kidnapped by the Russian terrorists. We will be ready to negotiate about it. We will be ready to negotiate the size of the reparations, right? If you guys are conscious enough, then we will negotiate those reparations to be smaller. If not, then yeah, they will be big. Yes, we are ready to negotiate. But of course, first of all, you have to remove your troops from the territory of Ukraine. 100% of the Russian invaders must leave Ukrainian territory, and we will be ready to negotiate. It's not the negotiations that Putin wants, because Putin wants territory. The other day he had this meeting with actors called Russian Mothers, and those actors asked him, like, Vladimir Vladimirovich, can you tell us, and it was like last year, if not 2022, I think it was last year. Yeah, they asked him, Vladimir Vladimirovich, can you tell us, like, what are the results of this invasion? Like, what are the gains? And he said, take a look at the map. You see those new territories? Well, that's the result. Like, denazification, flying genetically modifying ducks and geese that shit napalm on Russian people. Forget about that shit. No, it's territory, because there's plenty of gas in Donbass. That's all. And that's why he needs those territories. He needs them to be officially attached to Russia. It needs them to be officially recognized as Russian territory. And that's why he will do everything to make it happen. So those were two messages. And those two messages, they were very important to him, right? At the same time, the American viewers, they expected to see something different. They expected to see, because in Twitter you saw, like, even if you didn't want to see this advertisement for this upcoming interview, you would see like bots just typing commentaries under your posts, like, you gotta see that, you gotta hear the truth, you gotta hear the truth. And the truth apparently was that Poles provoked Hitler to attack Poland because he only wanted to protect Nazi Germany. Yeah, it was like the cringiest, the cringiest, not like expectation, but the cringiest encounter with something that you didn't expect to see, but it happened, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. I completely admit that I overestimated Russian propaganda this time. Yeah, so that's the thing. And why I started talking about this? I started talking about this because you should not underestimate Putler. If Putler cannot talk openly to his audience, there will be definitely people who will talk instead of him. I bet a lot of people would like to hear interview with like Kim Jong-un, right? But because he sucks at talking generally, there will be no Tucker Carlson coming to see Kim Jong-un in the North Korea. Instead of that, there will be Jackson Hinkle, who will be rooting for North Korea and glorifying Kim Jong-un for being like the glorious leader of the nation. Because this is how it works. Okay, guys, I think I will answer some question here, and then I will be GTFOing real quick because I have to finish some more tasks. The Ruski bots that are watching these videos, they will say the dude is literally hiding in the girl's dorm and works illegally on the construction. Which is so cool. One time I had such experience, by the way. На добраніч, мої брати, я сісти. LJ, it's я спати, I think. But you're doing good with learning Ukrainian. Isn't there oil or natural gas of Crimean Peninsula? If Crimea was part of Russia, it would greatly increase Russia's economic zone in the Black Sea. Of course, Francine, that's the thing, because there are so-called oil rigs of Medvedchuk, and they are located in the Black Sea. Of course, Russians love to control them because they bring profit. But another thing is controlling the Black Sea, having your fleet located in the Crimean Peninsula and around it gives you opportunity to control several NATO countries, and it gives you opportunity to control the easy access to the Mediterranean Sea as well. Mr. Diggs, I'm in a sex tunnel, actually. Not in Cardiff, Smith. It's a different country. How many people, Paul Koval, how many people will Russia mobilize after the Russian election? Well, generally, they said that they want to increase their army from like 1.5 to like 2 millions of people. And I'm not really sure they will be able to do that. But what they're able to do is to recruit at least 20,000 men a month and lose approximately the same amount of people. So they just keep feeding those meat waves with new and new personnel every single month. And this is how it works. They don't really need like this huge, big new mobilization because they know that it will end well. But they can keep conducting that covered mobilization that is ongoing in Russia right now. And this is how it works. And of course, they can recruit like Nepalese mercenaries, African mercenaries, basically for cents. Russia steals to progress, so why don't they get off their asses and work to make things? It's like a nation of mafia gangsters. Well, Jack, the thing is, again, I think it was in some of my previous streams, maybe like one of my first streams at all. Russia has this deeply integrated culture of criminals. My God, deeply integrated culture of criminal culture, right? So if you watched Russian television in like 90s, you would see many shows about gangsters, about living on streets, about having your like gang, your mob, selling drugs, riding cool cars, living in prison and shit like that. Because this is something really familiar and really dear, valuable to the Russian viewers. This is part of their everyday's culture. And this is why they had like so many of those shows. We had something similar in Ukraine because Ukraine mostly watched Russian television back then in the 90s, but it's really different since I believe 2000s. In Russia, it's still the same. Nothing changed. Does the US need its Pearl Harbor moment before people get real? Uh, Peter, it will be different because Pearl Harbor was possible before the invention of the nuclear weapons. Currently, because the US has nuclear weapons to protect its territory, a different weapon is used, which is as deadly as nuclear weapons. It's called hybrid warfare. It's called informational warfare, propaganda, psyops, and currently opinion makers in the US are much more dangerous than the nuclear bombs. And this is why we have this channel, and this is why we have the Propaganda Study Institute that is, by the way, still working on its first video that you guys will love. Trust me. Unfortunately, when this Pearl Harbor version 2.0 happens, it will look different, but it will be much more devastating. And I will just briefly predict the way it happens. It's when the US exits NATO and becomes, let's say, a semi-isolated country, and rest of the countries, like European countries, lose its support, and the same thing happens in the European countries as well. And then the Russians that will see that, for example, a bunch of Baltic countries, a bunch of Europe, countries of the Western Europe that don't have nuclear weapons, and they are not members of EU and NATO anymore. They have a bunch of Russian diaspora there, of course, and they will come up with an announcement that Russian population is being repressed, hardly repressed, and prosecuted in those areas. That's why those areas require presence of the Russian peacekeepers. And Russian peacekeepers, they are worse than Wagnerites. because Wagnerites are considered terrorists, and Russian peacekeepers, they're basically the same terrorists, only wearing blue helmets and having a mandate of the United Nations. So they can do their atrocities legally. And this is how it happens. In the countries that can protect themselves with like nuclear weapons, there will be a lot of internal combat, civil wars, and things like that, civil conflicts. So basically, those countries will be self eliminated. And this is how Russia benefits from that shit. The other day, several several publishers, several agencies published a plan of the presumable and upcoming Russian invasion of Europe. It will look basically like this. I mean, I trust that this is one of the options, one of the variants, that Russians will use their diaspora in order to invade those countries that are still not or will not be anymore members of NATO or the EU. Yeah, Vlad Vexler says we're in a crisis of trust. We in the US don't know. Oh my god, these commentaries jump like crazy. I'm so sorry. And T says, yes, Crazy Putler wants Alaska now. That's exactly what I was talking about several years ago. Because the other day, I was like, Russians consider the Native Americans a Russian population. Because back in the days when the North America was connected to the Eastern Asia, right? Russian, the indigenous people from Chukotka went to the North America and settled there and became Native Americans. That's why Russians consider Native Americans Russians. So I said this as a joke. Several months after that, it was on the Russian TV. I'm like, holy shit, I helped Russian propagandists. Yeah, you gotta be very, very careful with what you're saying. Travis Erickson, any tips for getting the Cherupaka Aka Aka song out of your head? I hate you because now it's in my head as well. But if you want to get rid of it, check out some classics, Gangnam Style. Check out this. Oh my God, I for I. It's hard to talk about the song that you don't know the lyrics of because it's in a different language. Check Gangnam Style. It always works for me. Sexy and I love it. I'm listening to this song every single day, and it keeps me running. Uh, just kidding, guys. Okay, my friends, I think it's a good time to call it a day. Janine. Yeah, she says, that wasn't cool, now it's stuck in my head too. What kind of person are you? My dear friend, why did you do that to us? Oh my god. Listen to Ruskaya Dusha. Oh, damn it, I erased this song because I swore not to play it on my channel anymore, but I would do that for you. yeah, to cure you from this horrible disease. All right, my dear friends, thank you for staying with me today. It was a pleasure. It was a European stream this time, because majority of my European friends were able to see it. My American friends, not so much. I hope they will. See you next time. As always, guys, be safe, and thank you for supporting Ukraine, because this is the right thing to do. Bye bye.